My name is Lord Patton, Chris Patton, and you're listening to the Ireland Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Ireland Podcast. The time is 2 o'clock on Friday the 22nd of May 2026, Election Day in Galway. Though this is not the day that I am in China. Kunming. Kunming is a cool city. This is China. No expenses spared. This is the technology. There is China. There's Beijing. There's Shanghai. There's Tibet. You'll probably know where that is. And then you've got Everest around that area. And then you've got down here in the middle, Kunming. Small city. 6 million people, I think it is. Maybe 8 million. I can't remember. Anyway, bigger in Ireland. And 2 kilometres above sea level. So it's subtropical. And then it's windy. It's cool in terms of the temperature. And for a lot of the year, it's between 24 and 32 degrees. So, love that. Clear blue skies a lot of the time. But the weather, this is normal weather for this joint. But then, strangely, during summer, it just rains all the time. How many people live here? I think I did the maths one time. See the moon? I did the maths one time, I must do it again. It's probably like the same amount of people in Galway in this housing complex. And people say, how do you find your way home? It's simple. There's a name of the complex, there's a name of a section within that complex, or there's a building number and you know where that building is. You go to the building and then you go up to your floor and then you know where you live. It's pretty simple. Because of the density of people in China, you need places for them to live. And the easiest way to do that is big skyscrapers, effectively. I don't think I lived anywhere that had less than 16 floors, and often it'd be 35. So, this is where I used to live. A lot of greenery though. There's old women drinking tea and moaning about their husbands. And their children, about how they have to look after their grandchildren all the time. And look at they are looking after their grandchildren. That's like nurseries. Health and safety is a more recent concept in China. It reminds me of Ireland in the past, where health and safety was seen as something that got in the way. You know, it was common sense as a thing. But then, you know, in kindergarten, it wouldn't be unusual to see razor wire. And that's not to keep the kids in, that's to keep the robbers out. Nice kindergarten in there. And then the razor wire to keep the kids in. And of course the flag, you need the flag. But I remember I was talking to a colleague of mine and he was explaining that crime in China is a lot less than what it used to be. And he said it's because of CCTV, you know, we're being monitored. CCTV in China is also a television channel, a bit like RT or BBC, whatever. But CCTV, I'm talking about the classic one, which is just the eye in the street. So he says a lot of that stamped out crime. Having said that, I'm thinking about my colleague, a Western colleague, and he came home one time. So this is before Chinese New Year. He opened up his apartment door. There was somebody in the apartment, a robber. Quick thinking, closed the door, locked it, phoned the police. Very clever. Well done, Harry. And what the guy did on the 11th floor, he climbed out. He scaled down from the 11th floor down to the 5th floor, jumped over the balcony and through this older man's living room and out down the stairs, and then the cops didn't catch him. So if there is crime in China, it tends to happen just before Chinese New Year because people want to have a bit of disposable income for their family or whatever. Yeah. And then everywhere is livable. It's a bit like, what do we call it? The Wizard of Oz. Outside gyms. I miss that so much. An outside gym, you know, a running machine, weights, a circular thing. I still don't know what they are. I just went on and made my body move in accordance to them in some fashion that I thought made sense to me. Monkey bars, you know. Great stuff. Yeah, I've seen that a few times here, but not very often. And they're free. This is normal. Outdoor gym. This used to be my gym. I often say we're standing on the shoulders of giants, we as a human species. China's economic gates opened up in the 80s, so it would be fair to say that the development is more recent than it has been in the West, for example. And it would be strange for some people to go into an elevator and see signs up there. It still is for me. And look at this. So, no leaning, no whatever, no pushing, no smoking. Stop it. No playing and jumping, and no scramble. Come on now, less of the scramble. So stop that. People say, what's China like? And I say, well, it's the same size as Europe. So what's Europe like? It's not like there's just one big blob of China. It's different cultures and different psyches within that country. It is huge, but it's very difficult to pinpoint because, you know, you have guys in Tibet who are going to be very different to guys in Shanghai who are very different to guys in Hebei or Hefei, or they're almost like different countries, each province, but they're still very similar. So here's some videos of me walking along, exploring the street food items. Some offal there, there's some octopi, and some beans.
What's that mean?
And I don't even know what that is. And then there's some duck face, and then of course the big brain. Pig brain. Brain of pig. I don't know what that is, but then there's the chicken feet there, if you're ever looking for the chicken feet. Yeah, you can chew on a bit of knuckle there. Some garlic if you want, and then some deep oil-based something, and more oil. There's oily aubergines, and then of course you got the little maggots, yeah. And then if you just want to tuck in the regular insect, there you go. There, that's your lot. Grasshoppers, yeah. Nice. And then you can have your frankfurters, of course.
And the eggs.
Eggs, oh yeah, look at the eggs.
And tins.
But these are the bios. I don't know if they're vegetarian or not. Oil. In China, they like to cook things in oil, and that's just the way they do their food. I remember I travelled, was it 5 hours and then another 2 hours to get fresh cherries. So we travelled from one city to another city, and then in the morning we travelled 2 hours to get fresh cherries. I spent all day up trees eating cherries, which is what you did. You give them money and then you could eat as many cherries as you want. Oh, I'm now allergic to cherries. I've got this hay fever thing that kicks in. Not cool, not clever. And I remember talking to a student about this. We were just shooting the breeze, and he was saying, yeah, China, they place a lot of emphasis on the freshness of the vegetables. However, once the vegetables are fresh, and they know that, they will add flavour to it by putting oil in it. But then, you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning, they're out in the streets singing really loudly and slapping the oil along in their arms and legs, you know, to do the exercise. This is why Chinese people live so long, because they're doing a lot of exercise. More oil pattern there. Not crisp pattern, oil pattern. Here I am in a nice 5-star restaurant. And here's some nice vegetables. I'll scrape a wee bit of, see what's on this carrot. Oh, I haven't got it properly. Oh, that's not too bad, that one. But that's the previous one, you see? All the oil. One of the biggest things I noticed different about China this time was the technology, the innovation. Well, 2 things. Number 1 was the cars. I'll come back to that. Number 2 the robots cleaning the hotels. And I should say that I was staying in very fancy hotels. This is the difference in China and the West. I remember I was talking to a colleague of mine in Qingdao, and it was a lady and a gentleman, and they were together. They're now married with a child in America. She's Chinese, he's American. And we just were talking and we're talking and talking, and then she explained to me eventually, without me asking, that her salary was 10% of her partner's. 10%? Yeah. How do you come to terms with that? And she said, you've given up so much to be here. You're not with your family, you're not with your friends, you're not able to speak the language, you've given up so much, you don't have a pension. She's telling me all this, and I'm going, oh yeah, hadn't thought about that. I hadn't explicitly said it, I thought about it. And she's telling me this, and I was thinking, wow, I'd never explicitly heard that or said that. So it was very interesting coming from a Chinese person telling me what I had been missing. So whenever I was staying in a hotel in China, I was staying in 5-star hotels, which is the price of a regular hotel here in Ireland, probably cheaper actually. The first hotel that I was staying in had robots cleaning the joint, big old robots with strange voices. So I'm in the lift, and then who's in the lift with me? But Barney the robot. Hello Barney. Barney's going to get out now, I'm sure. I'm not sure he's called Barney. Okay. 再见. Bye-bye. And the people can't even get in. I said strange voices. I heard this interesting podcast recently where somebody was saying about how Chinese childhood is all about the Gaokao. The Gaokao is a bit like A-levels or the Leaving Cert. It's the qualification that you need to get into university. And the competition's huge. Kids study very, very hard for the Gaokao. The hours would shock you. So in many ways, their childhood is not fully enjoyed. And whenever you see a robot cleaning a hotel, you hear this voice, it's a child's voice. If you hear a sat-nav, it wouldn't be unusual to hear a child's voice telling you, take the next right. And this person on the podcast is basically saying it's because a lot of the childhood is gone and they try and give their childhood or extend it until they're about 40. Interesting theory. I hadn't thought about that until this person said that and I went, oh, that kind of makes sense. Because a lot of these automated voices that you hear in China are children's voices. And I still find that a bit, what is that about? Maybe it's because the children's voice is cute or that it cuts through, you know, if Johnny Cash is talking, he's down low and the sound doesn't cut through. I remember Sting was saying about Roxanne, and the reason why it cuts through is because of the high register. He said baritones don't really have a rock singing voice. Thanks, Sting. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm in the way? Ah, I'm in the way. You get it. Go on ahead. Barnett. Go on, get in there, you girl. You. What are you looking at? You're not going to kill me. Get out of me. Get out of here. You've cleaned here already. Get back to work somewhere else. Go on. Aye. You're a bit useless now. We were in a shopping mall in Kunming and there's a little girl putting coins into a machine, effectively a robot. You know, like this here, claw, it picks up an animal or a toy animal and drops it down. This was an actual animal. What was the animal? It was a goldfish, a real goldfish. She was picking out goldfish to win, to take home. Very strange. Okay, Jayo. Ale. Put the coin in. The machine goes across. Press the button. Okay. Down your shot, down your shot, down your shot. She's waiting for it to load up. I'm just going to press the button.
This is much more important.
Ooh, she got it! Yay! Well done! Oh, 非常好. 好香. Oh yo! And then keep going. 加油, 加油! Yeah, phones and technology and how technology is advancing. So that was strange going into a shop and seeing phones for sale alongside cars. The Xiaomi shop, they used to sell phones, really bad phones called Redmi. They're selling televisions and of course cars. One of the coolest things about China are the parks. There's many parks, for example, in Kunming. And also Qingdao, there's some really cool parks. The other city that I lived for about a year and a half. And yeah, many parks. And in there, you would see a bunch of cats doing Tai Chi in their 50s or whatever. You'd see the middle-aged woman doing their dancing. There's no shame. Just a ghetto blaster, it'd be a lady at the front and everybody else is copying her. Line dancing, effectively. Also in the parks, you'd see people doing sword fights, but, you know, not dangerous swords, obviously. You'd see people kicking a shuttlecock. You know, they'd be kicking it to each other. Just a bit of exercise. You'd see people running. Less bikes. Bikes generally are not allowed in parks. Depends on the park, obviously. I'm speaking with my experience. Remember, China's the same size as Europe. An amazing thing that China has is the amount of parks. Got these wonderful parks. They're obviously doing live karaoke today. Don't know if you can hear that in the distance. See the buildings through there. Just non-stop. But one of my favourites is bands. These guys who just play music together. They play whatever type of music. Here's some video that I recorded. Oh, brilliant. Found them. There's a tea hut. Hotting, jump on. I was in Amsterdam last year interviewing Emer Cook, and she is the director of the European Medicines Agency. And first part of the conversation, I was explaining to her how Amsterdam is such a cool place. It reminds me of China in many ways. And she's like, okay. You had a pavement. Then you had a cycle lane, then you had a slow car lane, then you had a fast car lane, and then the mirror image of that thereafter. And I love that you can just walk around and just have a big old wide pavement and not worry about being knocked down by a motorbike or a push bike or whatever. And then in the cycle lane, you don't worry about cars mowing into you or whatever. So very segregated, very safe, same as Amsterdam. Not the inner city, but the outer layers of the orange or the onion that you have there. Cool, you got a pavement there for pedestrians and for cyclists there. And then you got a road here for slow traffic. A road here then for big traffic. Look at the size of this junction. And the size of that building. This is for fast traffic. And then you got another one in the opposite direction for fast traffic. Then you get the slow traffic, so it mirrors on, you know. Am I going to make it in time? A lot of greenery here. A lot of greenery. This is China. I had 3 vehicles in China. I had a pushbike, I had my first car, a Hyundai, and then I had an electric bike. It was almost like a Vespa scooter, but more modern. And I used to take that and take the kids to school and that. You'd have one in the back and one standing between my legs. They were smaller then. Loved it, used it every day It took me 5 minutes to get from my home to my classroom. Classroom, not school, classroom. And you take it home, you charge it. Since I've come back, I've seen those e-bikes a few times. And then I take a note of what the name was and then Googled it. And the price is 10 times the price. 10 times the price. So, yeah, that explains why they're not so prevalent over here, but fantastic mode of transport. Bali, interestingly, has got scooters. And the sound of them and the smell of them, they're petrol powered. Yeah, it's really nice to go to China and then you just have these e-bikes. They're pretty silent and they're very efficient. Here's a e-bike, electricity bike. Costs about £300
Why here? Which is,
sorry,
£300
here.
What the 3,000?
Ireland thereabouts.
You see how far they go on. You see how far they go on. Forever, eh? They're very useful. Forever, eh?
I went to my old school and I loved that place. I was there for 5 years and I developed a lot of friendships with everybody, from the cleaning staff to the cooking staff to obviously the students and foreign teachers obviously, and the Chinese admin staff as well as the teachers. And it was great going back. There's a sea change that has happened in that school and many schools in China since COVID. And that's because everybody I was talking to in our school were tired of not being able to see their family. As I say, we could have been any part of the world. And so whenever I left China and that school, I still had a mixed emotions about it. But within 5 minutes of being there, I just loved the place all over again. And the staff were so happy to see me. I was a performing arts teacher, so I have an unfair advantage. I got to put on these huge shows. I was given carte blanche in terms of what I could do, and I took it. I put on these huge end-of-year theatre productions and also Christmas shows. I got the kids to perform Batman by Hans Zimmer, The Ecstasy of Gold by Ennio Morricone. These are 11-year-olds, and I just gave them a world of creativity, and I stepped back. So I got them to create the world. And that's a great thing. If you're 11 years old and you're writing your own Christmas song about Santa getting stuck up in the chimney because he's too big and he can't get down, and you're laughing your head off, what freedom that is, and what joy it is for a kid who's written that song to perform it in front of their family. Yeah, so you can tell maybe that the love I have for that job and for that place is still there. And it was great to see these people again, because even though almost all the foreign staff left, there was maybe about 2 or 3, most of the Chinese staff were still there, maybe about 2 or 3 missing. So it was funny because the new staff, some of them had heard about me. I remember the head of secondary called me, did he say I was a legendary knight or something? Something strange like that. And then you had the old staff who were giving me hugs and stuff. So it was lovely. It was really lovely.
Thank you for listening. If you know someone who might value this conversation, feel free to pass it on. The Ireland podcast is intended as a record of long-form conversations like this. And if you would like to support the continuation of the work, there is a link in the notes. Take care.